Om Agyana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Shakshurun Meritam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayamuru Pagadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shiguro Shivtapadakamalam Shigurun Vaishnavam Sha Shiropaham Sagrajatam Sahaganarunatan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitaham Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shiradaha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shivi Shagatam Shem He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopeka Kanta Radakanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatrubhesha Kripasinubhevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnabhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Pramunitananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasana Gaurabhakta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Rama Hare Hare. So today we are citing from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 8, and text from 1 to 18. Sutta Uvacha Adahate Samparetanam Svanam Udakam Ichatam Datum Sakrishna Gangayam Paraskritya Yayu
Hare Krishna. Sutta Goswami said, thereafter the Pandavas, desiring to deliver water to the dead relatives who had decided, went to the Ganges to Draupadi. The ladies walked in front.
Text 2. Teni niyoda kam sarve vilapyecha brishampuna apluta hari padapcha rajaputa saritshale.
Having lamented over them and sufficiently offered Ganges water, they bathed in the Ganges, whose water is sanctified due to being mixed with the dust of the lotus feet of the Lord.
Tatrasinam kurupatim dhritarashtram sahanucham Gandharim putra shokartam pritham krishnam chamadhavam.
There sat the king of the Kurus, Maharaja Yudhishthira, along with the younger brothers and Dasharatha, Gandhari, Kunti, and Draupadi, all overwhelmed with grief. Lord Krishna was also there.
Text 4. Santvayam asa munibhir hatab undhun shucharpitan puteshu kalas yagatim darshayana pratikriyam.
Writing the stringent laws of the Almighty and their reactions upon living beings, Lord Sri Krishna and the Munis began to pacify those who were shocked and affected.
Sadhayitva chata shatro svam rajyam kitavarhritam ghatayitva sato ragya kachasparsha kshatayusha.
The clever Duryodhana and his party cunningly usurped the kingdom of Yudhishthira, who had no enemy. By the grace of the Lord, the recovery was executed, and the unscrupulous kings who joined with the Duryodhana were killed by him. Others were also joined, their duration of life having decreased for their rough handling of the hair of Queen Draupadi.
Yajaitva shvamedhaistam tribhir utama kalpakai tvatyasha pavanam dikshu shatamanyor ivatanot.
Lord Sri Krishna caused 3 well-performed Atharvaveda yajnas to be conducted by Maharaja Yudhishthira, and thus caused his virtuous fame to be glorified in all directions, like that of Indra, who had performed 100 such sacrifices.
Amantriya Pandu Putramsha Shineyodhava Samyuta Vipaya Nadibhir Vipray Pujita Pratipujita.
Lord Sri Krishna then prepared for his departure. He invited the sons of Pandu, and having been worshipped by the Brahmanas, headed by Srila Vyasadeva, the Lord also reciprocated greetings.
Gantam Kritamatir Brahman Dvarakam Ratham Astita Upalebhe Abhi Dhavantim Utaram Bahaya Vihvalam.
As soon as he seated himself on the chariot to start for Dvaraka, he saw Uttara hurrying down towards him in fear.
Utaravacham Pahi Pahi Mahayogin Deva Deva Jagatpate Nanyam Tvat Abhayam Pashe Yadramrityo Parasparam.
Uttara said, O Lords of Lords, Lord of the universe, you are the greatest of mystics. Please protect me, for there is no one else who can save me from the clutches of death in this world of duality.
Amihidravati Mamisha Sharastaptaya Sovibho Kamam Dahato Mam Nadha Mame Garbho Nipatyatam.
O Lord, you are all powerful. A fiery iron arrow is coming towards me fast. My Lord, let it burn me personally, if you so desire. But please do not let it burn and abort my embryo. Please do this favor, my Lord.
Sutovacha Upadharya Vachastasya Bhagavan Bhakta Vatsala Apandavam Idam Kartum Draunir Astram Abudhyata.
Suta Goswami said, having patiently heard her words, Lord Sri Krishna, who is always very affectionate to his devotees, could at once understand that Astvama, the son of Dronacharya, had thrown the Brahmastra to finish the last life in the Pandava family.
Tarhi Evatha Munishreshta Pandava Pancha Sayakan Atmano Abhimukhan Deeptan Alakshyastrani Upadadu.
O foremost among the great thinkers, seeing the glaring Brahmastra proceeding towards them, the Pandavas took up their 5 respective weapons.
Vyasanam Vikshyatat Tesham Ananya Vishayatmanam Sdarshanena Svastrena Svanam Raksham Vyadhat Vibhum.
The almighty personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, having observed that a great danger was befalling his unalloyed devotees who were fully surrendered souls, and at once took up his Sudarsana disc to protect them.
Antastha Sarvabhutanam Atma Yogeshwaro Hari Swaya Mayayar Vrinod Garbham Varatya Kurutantave.
The Lord of Supreme Mysticism, Sri Krishna resides within everyone's heart as the Paramatma. As such, just to protect the progeny of Kuru dynasty, he covered the embryo of Uttara by his pastoral energy.
Yadyapi Astram Brahma Shiras To Amogham Chapratikriyam Vaishnavam Teja Asadya Samashamyad Gudvaha.
O Sanaka, a glory of Bhrigu's family, although the supreme Brahmastra weapon released by Asvama was irresistible and without check or counteraction, it was neutralized and foiled when confronted by the strength of Vishnu, Lord Krishna.
Mamam Sthaihi Etat Asharyam Saravasharya Maye Achute Ya Idam Maya Ya Devya Srijati Avati Hantyachaha.
O Brahmanas, do not think this is to be especially wonderful in the activities of the mysterious and infallible personality of Godhead. By his own transcendental energy he creates, maintains, and annihilates all material things, although he himself is unborn.
Brahmatejyo vinirmuktair atmajai saha krishnaya prayanibhi mukham krishnam idam aha pridhasati.
Thus saved from the radiation of Brahmasta, Kunti, the chaste devotee of the Lord, and her 5 sons, and Draupadi addressed Lord Krishna as he started for home.
Kunti vacham namase purusham tvadyam ishvaram prakrite param alaksham sarva bhutanam antarbahir avastitam.
Srimati Kunti, O Krishna, I offer my obeisances unto you because you are the original personality and are unaffected by the qualities of the material world. You are existing both within and without, yet you are invisible to all. Hare Krishna, please excuse if there are any mistakes.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to serve, and a happy new year, everyone. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Jyoti Mataji. Hare Krishna, everyone. I will try to share my screen. So I guess everyone can see.
Yes. Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay, thank you. So today we are going to discuss 1814, and let's start our invocation, and we will come to the verse little later. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Neshtaki Antastha Sarva Bhutanam Atma Yogeshwaro Hari Swamaya Brunodarbham Vairatyah Kurutantave Antastha Sarva Bhutanam Atma Yogeshwaro Hari Swamaya Brunodarbham Vairatyah Kurutantave Antastha Sarva Bhutanam Atma Yogeshwaro Hari Swamaya Brunodarbham Vairatyah Kurutantave. We'll do word by word translation. Antastha, being within, Sarva, all, Bhutanam, of the living beings, Atma, soul, Yoga Ishvaraha, the Lord of all mysticism, Harihi, the Supreme Lord, Swamayaya, by the personal energy, Yogeshwaro Hari, Swamaya, Vrinod, Avrinod, covered, Garbham, embryo, Vairatyah, of Uttara, Kurudantave, for the progeny of Maharaj Kuru. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. The Lord of Supreme Mysticism, Sri Krishna, resides within everyone's heart as the Paramatma. As such, just to protect the progeny of the Kuru dynasty, he covered the embryo of Uttara by his personal energy. Purport. The Lord of Supreme Mysticism can simultaneously reside within everyone's heart, or even within the atoms, by his Paramatma feature, his plenary portion. Therefore, from within the body from within the body of Uttara, he covered the embryo to save Maharaj Parikshit and protect the progeny of Maharaj Kuru, of whom King Pandu was also a descendant. Both the sons of Dhritarashtra and those of Pandu belong to the same dynasty of Maharaj Kuru. Therefore, both of them were generally known as Kurus. But when there were differences between the two families, the sons of Dhritarashtra were known as Kurus, whereas the sons of Pandu were known as Pandavas. Since the sons of grandsons and grandsons of Dhritarashtra were all killed in the battle of Kurukshetra, the last son of the dynasty is designated as the sons of Kurus. Let's chant the invocation. Om Adnyantimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tvam Sajivam Sa-Advaitam Sa-Avadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesh Gopika Kant Radha Kant Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Yam Pravraje Tamapeta Krityam Dvaipayano Virahakatara Aju Ava Putreti Tannayatayo Tarvo Vinedus Tam Sarva Bhutarudayam Vimanatosmi Yantah Pravishya Mamavacham Mam Prasuptam Sanjivayate Akhila Shaktidarasvadam Anyamscha Hastacharana Shravanatvagadin Pranan Namo Bhagavate Purushaya Tubhyam. Thus, let's chant the verse and the translation. Dastha Sarva Bhutanam Atma Yogeshwaro Harihi Swamaya Vrunontarbham Vairāṭyaha Kurutantave. The Lord of Supreme Mysticism, Sri Krishna, resides within everyone's heart as the Paramatma. As such, just to protect the progeny of Kuru dynasty, he covered the embryo of Uttara by his personal energy. So, the title of this chapter is Prayers of Kunti Devi. And this is basically a catalyst for the prayers of Queen Kunti and how Maharaj Parikshit is saved. So if we see here in the translation and in the purport, certain specific features of the qualities of the Lord are mentioned here. He is a Lord of supreme mysticism, Sri Krishna, and resides within everyone's heart as the Paramatma. So here the background is Ashwatthama has caused the mayhem by doing the heinous act and killing 5 sons of Draupadi when they were sleeping. And then he has released Brahmastra to kill the child who is there in Mother Uttara's embryo in her womb. So we have seen in a last chapter about how Arjun counteracts with the Brahmastra, and then Ashwatthama releases the Brahmastra when towards the unborn child. Now, Uttara is in a desperate situation. She's saying, yes, now I don't have any other shelter. And that's why in the previous verses, she's saying, Pahi Pahi, now please save me. As if we see the Krishna here. You are all powerful. A fiery iron arrow is coming towards me fast. My Lord, let it burn me personally, if you so desire. But please do not let it burn and abort my embryo. Please do me this favor, my Lord. So she wants, her only objective is to save the dynasty, the last hope that Maharaj Parikshit, who is there in her womb as the descendant of the Kuru dynasty, and that's where her prayers are. If we see, go a bit earlier, that's where Uttarova, she's Mother Uttara, is saying, Pahi Pahi, oh save me, protect. That's what it means. Mahayogina Deva Deva Jagatpate. So you are the supreme, you are the owner, or you are the Lord of this whole universe, of the Jaga. Nanyam Twadabhayam Pashet Yatra Mrityu Parasparam. So she's saying that you are the greatest of mystics. Please protect me. Protect me. She's basically saying, protect this unborn child. For there is no one else who can save me from the clutches of death in this world of duality. This is talking. She's very beautifully, she's saying that in this material world, there is a death, and only you can save me or save this any living entity in the material from the cycle of birth and death. That's what her prayer is, and we can read that desperation of in her prayers. And let's go back to here. Yeah, I'm sure this has been discussed very elaborately earlier. And then she's saying that then Sutta Goswami is explaining the Lord is sitting within everyone's heart, and he understands what is the feeling, what we are looking for, what are our prayers. And Mother Uttara's prayer, the purity of her prayers, of her intentions, Lord knows very well, and how he saves that will come later, and then that we have seen. And this is basically the impetus, the catalyst for the Mother Kunti's prayers, and those prayers will start very soon. The first prayer, she says that the last verse, 18th verse, which was read just now, is Namasya Purusham Tvadyam Ykshuram Prakrute Param Alaksham Sarvabhutanam Antarbahiravastitam. So if we read Mother Kunti's prayers, it's lot of not only, I should say, her Mother Kunti's prayers are basically the confirmation of what are all the promises and the confirmation Lord has given in Bhagavad Gita. And we'll go through some of the verses where Lord confirms what Kunti Devi as well as what Mother Uttara is saying here. And we'll go to that in a little later. So here we are reading the amazing mystical event of how Maharaj Parikshit was saved by the Lord, by his personal energy. This is a very important point here. He covered the embryo of Uttara by his personal energy. And this is all mystical. If we see this whole episode of Lord is leaving towards Dwarka, and then Mother Uttara is saying, Pahi Pahi, please protect me, that Brahmastra is coming. And then Lord Krishna goes to the extent that he brings his personal energy to protect Maharaj Parikshit. Obviously, the question may come to our mind that if he has protected Maharaj Parikshit in the beginning itself, before even he appeared in the material world, he came out of the mother's womb, why he was not protected when he was cursed by the son of Shamik Rishi? And that's the obvious question, and I'm sure we all you all know the answer properly, but at the end we can, if we had time, we'll discuss it quickly. So conditioned soul here, what is the principle that if we come to this point here, the conditioned soul has why are we conditioned? That let's step back and think about it. The meaning of conditioned soul and the soul in a pure consciousness, what's the difference? When the pure consciousness is covered by the irresistible lust, and it's like the fire covered by smoke, as we have seen in the first 6 chapters of Bhagavad Gita. When we discuss that, there are so many metaphors. It is called alankar in Sanskrit, and how that is covered. So when pure consciousness is covered by irresistible lust, and the example is fire is covered by smoke or ash, or our endeavors are covered by the faults, propensity to cheat, tendency to commit mistakes and all that. When that is covered, soul is conditioned. Our whole consciousness, our thinking process is not in a right direction. And when any conditioned soul is thinking anything away from the service to the Lord, obviously, what is the other option for every conditioned soul? To think about the sense gratification. And sense gratification means we are thinking about ourselves. I am the center of this universe. I am the center. I should be the center of attraction, and everything is for my service. So that is the conditioning. When it is opposite, the pure consciousness is when we are thinking, I am just a servant, and everything is an opportunity for me to commit, to do the service, and not commit any mistakes by thinking about myself. So exactly opposite. Urdhvamulamadasyakam ashwatham pravravyam. The first verse of the 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, where Lord is saying everything is upside down, and that's what this material world is, and that's the covering of the pure consciousness in this material world. And how, when we request, when we have our intense prayers, then Lord has covered the Parikshit Maharaj by his personal energy, the embryo of Uttara, by his personal energy. So the fascinating bit is the weapon what Lord uses, Krishna uses his weapon, is Sudarshan Chakra. That is his personal energy. And if we try to analyze what is Sudarshan Chakra, Lord says, Kalosmyaham. So I am that time as well, and which is also Chakra, Kala Chakra. Sudarshan Chakra is, in certain cases, we read that in the past times that the heat of Sudarshan Chakra was exceptional, was phenomenal. Like millions of suns coming together and emitting the heat. That was the heat of Sudarshan Chakra. But at the same time, if we think about the Kala Chakra part of Sudarshan Chakra, the only thing in this material world, today is 31st of December, and that is even more apt for the discussion today, that the year has completed, 2022. We went through so many things in last few years. Somebody had some COVID issue problem, somebody lost their beloveds, and so on. We went through so much of turmoil, and this was all at the time, every time when it was happening. What was the constant thing? For good and bad, the clock was ticking all the time, every moment, and that's what we were losing all the time. How to that Kala Chakra? So the Supreme Lord has a special potency because he is the time himself. He confirms that in the 10th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. That Sudarshan Chakra, or if we take that in terms of Kala Chakra, he can stop the time. He can bring the time forward or he can bring the time backward. And that is the only the Supreme Lord can do that. No other living entity, no other demigod can do that. Only the Supreme Lord. And that is the power of time, as once Radhanath Maharaj was giving the class some time back, and in Chowpatty, and he said that everyone is thinking about how I can gratify my senses on this 31st. But we are here discussing about Krishna Katha, and what we are focusing on and what our understanding is that the most powerful thing in this entire creation is time. By the power of time, everything will be burnt, or everything will turn into dust. Those mountains, those planets, everything what God has created is turned into dust. It will be finished. And so are our tiny little bodies. Maharaj was saying that. And that is Krishna's personal energy. So the time he has changed here as well, for that Brahmastra, that the embryo, the child in the in Mother Uttara's womb was protected by that Kala Chakra, by that Sudarshan Chakra. So what is the lesson we need to learn? That if our attention is away from Krishna, that Kala Chakra will act on us as death. We're 1 year, 1 moment closer to death. But if our attention is towards the Supreme Lord and not get covered by the ignorance of Maya, not get covered by our propensity to cheat or by faults, and not get our goodness contaminated by the misuse of the free will which is given to us, then obviously our prayers as well, Lord will personally, he will make sure that we are 1 year closer, 1 moment closer to the eternal life with him. And Lord says that Janma Karma Chame Divyam. Divya means which is beyond logic. Everything we think of in the current material world is in terms of logic, and logic has always the time factor in it, because logic is based on our experience, others' experience, and our capacity to discriminate between good and bad, between spirit and matter, between living and non-living. So that is all, logic is based on that. And in this particular case, Lord says that Janma Karma Chame Divyam, his activities and his birth, his appearance here, Evam Yo Vyakti Tattvataha. That is the basic principle, that it is beyond logic. It is beyond what we can imagine in terms of this material life. Tyaktva deham punarjanma, the person who leaves the body by understanding this fundamental truth that Lord's activities, his creation, his everything is something transcendental, which is not related to the material laws of nature. Tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mam eti surjuna. He's telling that, he's declaring that to Arjun, that the person will not come back to this material world. And that's what we need to remember, as Prabhupada is emphasizing here. Important point we just talked about is our goodness, our Vishuddha Sattva, our pure consciousness. It is covered by the misuse of our free will. Very important point, Prabhupada and our acharyas and all the great personalities, they emphasize here. The free will is given to us for a reason, and that is the beauty of the, the loving exchange between living entity and the super soul and the Lord. So, how to use that free will determine whether we will have those intense prayers, Pahi Pahi, and oh Lord, you are there, protect me, or I will be busy in my own ideas and my own sense gratification. So if we stop misusing the free will, the personal energy of Lord will also be there to take us away from this material consciousness and turning towards the spiritual consciousness, turning towards the lotus feet of the Lord. And his every feature and his every expansions are personalities. So, for example, if somebody has read about the Sri Sampradaya or the Ramanuja Sampradaya, all the Alvars there are actually the personalities. What are the features of the Supreme Lord? Example, which is the famous example we all read the prayers from, is the Mukundamala Stotra. And Mukundamala, who has written Mukundamala Stotra? King Kulashekhar. What is his identity in the with the Lord Vishnu? He is a Kaustuba Mani, the gem, the special one of the gems what Lord wears on his chest is the Kaustuba Mani, and that is that Kaustuba Mani came to the material world as King Kulashekhar, and we can read those beautiful prayers. It's there on Vedabase.io. You all can read that later. So that's what some of the points I thought of discussing here, coming to our original consciousness, taking the shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. So the person, I think the famous quote what His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj used to say frequently, that we are here in this material world to die permanently. We don't want to experience the death again. It's only this time, and that death will be our stepping stone for our eternal life. I found that absolutely amazing, phenomenal. The way he used to explain the potency of his pure words was something phenomenal. So, what are all the verses we can think of in this particular context? So that's what we will see today. One of the verse about, let's come to this, the Lord of supreme mysticism, Sri Krishna, resides within everyone's heart as the Paramatma. And 4.38 is the knowledge that Lord gives is, of course, about the Lord, Srinatam Sakatha Krishna, Punya Shravana Kirtana. So, the knowledge coming from the Lord, the supreme knowledge or the transcendental knowledge of Bhakti is Lord Himself, because that is His feature, that is His potency. And what Lord says in 4.38, Nahi jnanena sadrusham pavitram iha vidyate tat swayam yoga samsiddha kalenatmani vidyati. In this world, there is nothing so sublime and pure as transcendental knowledge. Such knowledge is the mature fruit of all mysticism, and one who has become accomplished in the practice of devotional service enjoys this knowledge within himself in due course of time. What this amazing verse means, that one who has become accomplished in the practice of devotional service on the path of bhakti enjoys this knowledge within. So that means we stop misusing our free will and connect ourselves with the supreme source of happiness, supreme source of enjoyment, supreme source of bliss. And that's what this particular translation means. Enjoys this knowledge within himself, because that is devotional service. That is the knowledge of devotional service in due course of time. And as the time progresses and we get completely absorbed in the path of bhakti, our destiny towards the eternal source of happiness is confirmed here. And that's the purport. I think we won't have enough time to read the purports because we have few more verses to go through. But as what we discussed just now, ignorance is the cause of our bondage and knowledge is the cause of our liberation. What knowledge? The knowledge of bhakti, devotional service. Yeah. This knowledge is the mature fruit of all devotional service, and when one is situated in transcendental knowledge, he need not search for peace elsewhere, for he enjoys peace within himself. So let's go to the next important point here, that Lord Sri Krishna resides within everyone's heart as the Paramatma. As such, just to protect the progeny of Kuru dynasty, he covered the embryo of Uttara by his personal energy. So let's come to the point of resides within everyone's heart. And that's what again it is confirmed in 13th chapter, and we will go through few verses here. Kshetrajnam chapimam vidhi sarva kshetreshu bharata kshetra kshetratne yojnanam tattadnyanam matam mama. O son of Bharata, you should understand that I am also the knower of all bodies. So everybody, like when are we conscious about something? When we go somewhere and when we are conscious of what we do, what's happening in the surrounding. If we know that there is a CCTV camera constantly observing us, then we become very conscious. So if we are conscious of what our everyday activities are, what our daily work is, and what we are doing, we will realize that he is the knower of everybody, of our body as well. And to understand this body and its knower is called knowledge. This is my opinion. That's what Lord is saying here. It's a big purport, but it has some wonderful details from different Vedic literatures. So you all can read in your whenever the time permits. Lots of references what Prabhupada gives in the purports, especially in Bhagavad Gita, and in certain cases in Srimad Bhagavatam, is from Shvetashvatara Upanishad. This is the verses from Shvetashvatara Upanishad are very, very potent. It reveals the path of bhakti in a very Upanishadic language. It's a very instructive language. As for example, if you can read here, Bhokta Bhogyam Preritaram Cha Matva Sarvam Proktam Tri Vidham Brahma Etat. So this particular, if we try to read the language in a same chanda, the same meter as Bhagavad Gita, it would be quite difficult, because the language of Upanishads is a very instructive type of language, and that is why Shvetashvatara Upanishad gives us the details or the confirmation of Lord's personal feature in a more of an instructive type of language. It comes from the great sage called Yajnavalkya, Yeah, it's already 8:30, so we won't discuss it. I will get sorry, apologies. I get a bit carried away by this. So this is the first verse, and then we'll go to the next verse. Sarvataha Panipadam Tat Sarvato Kshiromukham Sarvataha Shrutimaloke Sarvam Avritya Tishtati. Everywhere are his hands and legs, his eyes, heads, and faces, and he has ears everywhere. In this way, the supersoul exists, pervading everything. So, Lord is there, He's around us. Only thing is, we need to put the ointment of bhakti, premanjana churita bhakti vilochanena santas sadaiva. In Brahma Samhita, Lord Brahma says that. So, if we have that ointment of bhakti, we can see the presence, we can see the presence of Lord everywhere around us. And that's what the confirmation by Krishna himself in 13th chapter in 14th verse. Again, this is a, here it is the Brahma, we just talked about Brahma Samhita, and that's where the 5.37, his potency is mentioned in the purport by Srila Prabhupada. Let's go to the next verse. All the purports are fairly big, but those are very, very important, very powerful purports. And again, you can see here Shveta Upanishad in this particular purport as well. Let's read the verse. Sarvendriya gunabhasam sarvendriya vivarjitam asaktam sarvavritchaiva nirgunam guna bhroktucha. The super soul is the original source of all senses, yet he is without senses. He is unattached, although he is the maintainer of all living beings. He transcends the modes of nature, and at the same time, he is the master of all the modes of material natures. The name of the title of this chapter is Kshetra Kshetrajna Vibhag Yoga, nature, the enjoyer, and the consciousness. And that's what we are seeing here. What is the super soul? How he knows everything. And that's what Krishna is explaining in this particular chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Let's go to two more verses, and then we can discuss a little bit about the question answers maybe. Bhairantascha bhutanam charam charamevacha sukshmatvat tadavidneyam durastham chantikechata. You might have heard me chanting this verse a bit more frequently when we discuss other verses. The supreme truth exists outside and inside of all living beings, the moving and the non-moving. Because he is subtle, he is beyond the power of material senses to see or to know. Although far, far away, he is also near to all. This is again given in terms of the Upanishadic language, but here it is a Kathopanishad or Katha-Upanishad. So here we can see that what verse and how Srila Prabhupada is giving the details of what are the instructions in the Upanishads about the Lord's personal feature, and how important it is for us to follow the path of devotional service. So Prabhupada talks about the Upanishads and the Brahma Samhita again. Let's go to another verse from the 13th chapter. Avibhaktam cha bhuteshu vibhaktam iva cha sthitam bhuta bhartur cha tadneyam krasishnu prabhavishnu cha. Although the super soul appears to be divided among all beings, he is never divided. He is situated as one. Although he is the maintainer of every living entity, it is to be understood that he devours and develops all. So you can see that at the end of 10th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Lord says that, what is the need to explain everything to you, O Arjuna? By the spark of my splendor, I create, maintain, and destroy innumerable universes like this one. So that's the end part of this particular verses. He devours and develops all. Here the Upanishad which is given is the Taittiriya Upanishad. I'm not sure. Have we discussed about the how Upanishads were separated in Krishna Upanishad and Shukla Upanishad, and then what was the background behind it? Can anyone remember? Can anyone tell me if we have discussed it, or if not, then maybe sometime in the next discussion we'll talk about it. Upanishad was Vasishtha Muni was the one who was always giving the Upanishads, and he had a disciple called Yajnavalkya, and they had certain disagreements, principal disagreements, and that is why Yajnavalkya said that I'm not going to follow everything what you have instructed me, and as per the Vedic literature and as per the Vedic tradition, you're supposed to take everything, all the principles, all the instructions from the Upanishads as it is, without even a single deviation in terms of grammatical changes. Forget about even the actual principles wise changes. Even the grammatical changes we are not supposed to change. So that is the Upanishadic the tradition. Evam parampara praptam evam rajarshyo viduhu. It is that strict. And when Yajnavalkya said that I'm not going to accept your authority in terms of certain principles, and that time Vasishtha Muni said, if that is the case, then you give me everything you have, I have given to you back, and then you can develop your own understanding. And that time he said, give me the grains, and one handful of grains Vasishtha Muni gave to Yajnavalkya. He put that in his mouth, added all the potencies of Upanishads in those grains, and he spat it out. So Vasishtha Muni very well knew that he's an incredibly powerful, exceptionally intelligent person. So whatever he spits out, that knowledge is very powerful knowledge. It's like a Shukdev Goswami speaking Srimad Bhagavatam. So then Vasishtha Muni instructed his very important prime disciples that whatever he spits out, you take that, those grains, you have to pick it up, because that every grain has the potency of a knowledge what I have imparted in Yajnavalkya Rishi. So obviously Uchishta means the which is not fresh. You cannot eat somebody's remnants like that. So then those disciples were given the form of a partridge. In Sanskrit it is called titar. So they picked up that those grains from Yajnavalkya as instructed by Vasishtha Muni, and that parampara, that particular lineage, continued with the knowledge coming from Yajnavalkya. So those Upanishads in that and that particular traditions, which is from the disciples of Vasishtha Muni, it's called Taittiriya Upanishad, and that is a Krishna Upanishad. So Yajnavalkya Rishi, what happened later on, he went to Surya Dev, he did his upasana, and the Surya Dev directly imparted knowledge, all the Vedic knowledge, to Yajnavalkya. So Yajnavalkya's initial guru was Vasishtha Muni, but later on his guru became Surya Dev, and those Upanishads coming directly from the lineage of Yajnavalkya are called Shukla Upanishad. Shukla means white and Krishna means black. So Shweta Upanishad is Shukla Upanishad. Taittiriya Upanishad is a Krishna Upanishad. So that's the two differences in that. Later on, some of the Brahmin families, or the people who were qualified Brahmanas, some of them they became the followers of Krishna Upanishad. Some Brahmanas became the followers of Shukla Upanishad. So Shukla Upanishads are the followers of Yajnavalkya Rishi's lineage, and Krishna Upanishads are the followers of Vasishtha Muni's lineage. And yeah, I think we are going too much into details about it. So that's what the last verse we talked about. It's already 8:41. Are there any questions or any discussions or any additions? Anyone has to, if you have, please unmute yourself and then we can talk about it. Oh, okay, yeah. Okay, I guess there are no questions. Yeah, so this was the today's verse, 18:14, and I think very soon we will start discussion on Queen Kunti's prayers, the most amazing prayers. Those prayers are very beautiful, very poetic. It has very beautiful, very melodious meter. Queen Kunti's prayers. We can just sing those prayers. That will start very soon. So that's it for today. If there is nothing, then we will stop here. And thank you very much. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa
Sindhubhya eva cha
patitanam pavanebhyo
Vanyabhyo
Vaishnavibhyo
Vaishnavibhyo
namo
Namo Namaha.
Anantakoti Vaishnava.
Vrinda ki jai.
Namaha.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji, for nice class.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji, for a very nice class. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much.